Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday night, BLAW Live. This is Bishop Larry Ward. So glad that you're here tonight. Would you tell someone that we're on tonight as we continue our series on women in leadership? We had a great conversation on last week with Dr. Virginia Ward, and tonight we have a fantastic guest. So you want to tell folks that we're on tonight, and we're going to be continuing our series on women in leadership. And we're going to be talking with women in different fields of leadership, from the nonprofit world, from dealing in the religious community, and also business. So this is going to be a great time. And so tonight, I'd like to introduce my guest in the person of Tonya McGrath. And Tonya McGrath is the principal owner of Hull Bay Production, where she serves as executive director. She's also the producer and editor. And Tonya is also in business operations manager for the Abundant Life Church, and she oversees everything from the finances to vendors and the media production. And Tonya is a multi-award-winning producer, director, and editor who takes pride in much of her multifaceted projects and multidimensional and content creating for many projects, from sports to arts to religion and entertainment and politics and popular culture. And so Tonya has 30 years of production experience, beginning at PBS, flagship television station, WGBH in Boston. And Tonya has been recognized with 7 Emmy Award nominations and 3 Emmy wins for various documentaries and production work. The first feature documentary film from Hull Bay Production was titled 100 Years, 100 Voices of Faith. It's a chronicle stories of the Abundant Life Church as we're celebrating the 100th years of faith and service to the community. And the film featured in the fall of 2017 and in 2018, and it also was selected to premiere at the prestigious Roxbury International Film Festival. And in January 2020, Tonya launched her podcast, The Power Play Show. You need to listen to The Power Play Show. Tremendous. It already has received 6 awards, including 2 awards of excellence from the Communicator Awards, 3 awards from the distinction from the Communicator Awards, and an honorable mention from the Webby Awards. And early this year, Tonya took interest in a special project that she's very much interested in, and she's developing the second documentary called More Than Our Skin. And More Than Our Skin explores in depth the effects of living with vitiligo through the personal and many painful stories of 5 women. And More Than Our Skin provides a deeper understanding of what it means to live with vitiligo. And the stories fall in a deep, people actually who have vitiligo, they're going to share some stories with you about times of deep depression, and stories about some of them who have really contemplated suicide, and stories that are really heart moving, and stories that people with vitiligo struggle with. And these stories are really powerful, and they're empowering. And so she has done a lot to get that message out. And so tonight we're so happy to have with us on BLAW Live, Tonya McGrath. Hi, Tonya, how are you?
Hi, Bishop. How are you?
Good. You are a busy person.
Yes.
Doing all these wonderful projects, and you have a lot of awards. And Power Play Show is a great show, and I just want to encourage you who are out there to listen to it, and she'll tell you a little bit more about it as we go into leadership tonight. So the first question, I just want to get right to it. Did you always know that you wanted to be a producer and produce programs?
I wanted to be the first female in the WNBA, but the WNBA wasn't actually in existence yet. But I wanted to be a basketball player. I was really short, but I was good. And then I thought I was going to be a teacher, and did an internship when I was at the University of Miami in Florida, and decided I didn't really like being around kids that much. So my mom was an award-winning producer. She did decades of television production. And so I came back from school, took an internship at WGBH, and stayed there for 25 years and fell in love with it. It is, it's, you know, it feeds me in a way that is really kind of hard to explain, but I love the details. I love the not really knowing. I love the creativity. I love putting things together, taking them apart. All that stuff is just, it's a wonderful life.
Wow. So that was really getting exposed to it very early, and you really kind of took an interest in producing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom was Matt Lauer's producer before he went to the Today Show. So she worked with him with 3 years in Providence. And so I watched her kind of being, you know, the head woman in charge. And I was just like, oh, okay, I like that. And so, yeah, it just kind of happened. But yeah, I'm thrilled about my career.
Wow. Well, I'm glad your mom was one of the catalysts, I would say, in a number of ways into the field. But I'm sure that you got to see some of the other side of what it means to be a woman in leadership, particularly in the production field. So how hard was it for you to be successful in your field? You have Emmys, you have multiple awards, and you know that didn't happen overnight. So how what was the kind of like this journey like to get there?
It's really hard because at some point in my career, I decided that I wanted to be more on the technical end, and I was training to be a director. I was working to be an editor, and there weren't any Black female directors or editors in Massachusetts at all. So, you know, I always joke about people. One day I'm going to write a book, and it's called The Little Black Girl in the Big Chair. Because I really just kind of felt like I was surrounded by this enormous amount of talent around me who were like 10, 15 years older than I was. And it was really hard, I think, at first to have people take me seriously. I was also Cynthia's daughter. And so Cynthia and I, my mom and I working for the same television station, you know, everyone just kind of looked at me as the kid. You know, it was like, oh yeah, that's Cynthia's kid. Yeah, that's Cynthia's daughter. So I really had to kind of make my own path. My mom wasn't a director. She wasn't an editor. She didn't do any of the technical stuff. So I felt like that was my way of kind of creating my own path. The producer's stuff came very organically for me. So it was learning the technical stuff that was more of a challenge. But you know, I was a director for Emily Rooney for almost 20 years, and it was we had some really interesting times. We had some really hard times. You know, we were there when 9/11 hit. We were there for Katrina. We were there for a lot of presidential debates. You know, I got to see the world kind of unfold. And have like a front row seat to it. So, but it was really just kind of finding my path and defining my own path aside from my mom and aside from, you know, all these guys, really, men around me who were all the technical people. There were very few women when I started back in 1990. But I stuck with it. You know, I really didn't let anyone kind of take me off my course. I cried. There were tears.
Yeah.
There, you know, mostly tears of anger. But, you know, I stayed the course. And, you know, I am tough. I like to say I'm tough. But yeah, when there's nobody around, I'm like, yeah, why did he talk to me like that? But yeah, but it was important for me to kind of make my own path. And I did, you know, and particularly at WGBH being the first African-American female director in its history. So I'm very proud of that.
Wow. So as you're in, you know, the field of, you know, producing and editing and all the things of, you know, that make you, you know, successful in your field. Can you tell us maybe an incident that was one of those like realization that, you know what, maybe I'm going through this because I'm a woman. and I'm leading in this field. Maybe if I was a guy, I wouldn't be having this problem. But can you maybe think of a situation that says, hey, did anything come to your mind that says, maybe it's because I'm not a guy?
I really think it had to do around the directing. So you have to realize that the director, there's 9 technical people that report to the director. 3 cameramen, a stage manager, an audio person, a lighting director, videotape operator, technical director, prompter, and these were all men. And so when things would happen, instead of, everyone kind of coming together and say, okay, this is how we're going to fix it, I felt like I was left out to dry in a way, like, you figure it out, you're in the big chair, you figure it out. And I would see other male directors that didn't have those kind of challenges. So it was hard. It was hard, but I think the more I learned and the smarter I became for myself, that's when people kind of recognize, like, okay, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. We're going to stop. And by the time I ended, like, I worked with some of the best people in Boston. Ron Milton, who helps us out on Sundays, is just one of the greatest. And so by the time I left, it was a true partnership. It was a true team, but it took me a while to get there. Yeah.
Wow. So what would you want, maybe a young woman professional who really wants to enter into production, and they really want to do something very significant in that field? What would you say to them about, preparing themselves for the challenges of being a woman in leadership?
Know your craft. Know your craft. Figure out what that craft is, because a producer is a craft, an editor is a craft, a director is a craft, a writer is a craft. Know your craft. So whatever that avenue that you choose that you want to be on, study it. Study the people who are in the same craft as you. Watch. I tell people all the time, I watch all types of television because I learn something from everything that I watch. And I'm not necessarily watching it for the content, but sometimes I am, but I'm watching it, camera angles, editing styles, lighting ideas. I'm a constant student of my craft, and I take it very seriously. Everyone knows you have given me such a great opportunity at Abundant Life to really learn a whole new set of skills that COVID forced us to get into. But I'm a constant student of my craft. I never say that I know everything. I never say I'm the best at everything. But what I do say is whatever I choose to do, whatever I go out to do, I study, I work and learn and learn and learn. And that's what is always going to make you great at what you do. There's no such thing as an original idea. The originality is what you bring to it. And so that, that comes with just the constant studying. I mean, every single day I can tell you something new that I've either seen or heard that helps me better in what I do.
Yeah, and I could tell you that you definitely are a person who really takes learning very seriously and innovation, and really takes initiative on what you do. So before I get into our next question, I want to invite the audience. If you have questions, if you have comments, you can put them in the chat box. We'll love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a part of BLAW Live tonight, as we're sharing with Tony McGrath, and as we're talking about this whole, what it really means to be a woman in leadership. So I'm going to switch a little bit, and I know we were talking about your career as a producer, but now I'm going to talk about your kind of woman in leadership as a business owner. Now, the business owner kind of kind of thing. I know it does have its challenges, just kind of really, all right, we're stepping out and we're actually going to pioneer something that is really about business and your livelihood. So would you just talk a little bit about, Hallway Productions, and when did you make this quantum leap from, producing for the television programming to now you're just kind of getting out there to just like, I got my own production company now?
Yeah. So about 6 months before I left WGBH, I knew that I was transitioning out. They knew I was transitioning out. And so my husband, Greg, and I decided that we were going to start a production company. I very much wanted to work on some independent projects. I wanted to tell some stories that were important to me. You came to me with a great idea about chronicling the 100 years of Abundant Life Church. So it all just kind of seemed to all kind of mesh at the right time. My husband really takes care of kind of running the production part of it in terms of the equipment that we buy, the investments that we make. I'm more like the creative mind, but I have to learn more about the business. So, just kind of going back to what I said, I'm constantly learning. And, and Greg teaches me a lot, and he gives me a lot of advice, and he gives me some really sometimes hard lessons to understand on the business side, because I've just been like, oh, I just want to make films. I just want to make stuff. But realizing that there's a whole business side to it. And in order to be successful, you have to kind of understand that. So we work very much in tandem with that. But it's a learning process. I've made some mistakes. I've done projects that I probably shouldn't have done. I've gotten burned by clients because I didn't, put the right factors in place prior to doing the work and not getting paid and those type of things. But it's all kind of part of the learning process. I think that what Hull Bay has is the unique ability to tell stories and to do it with just a decades of knowledge and understanding and knowing and contacts. I have a tremendous amount of contacts. I can pick up the phone. People work with me because they know me. And we, which is kind of how the second film kind of came into place. But I'm constantly learning the business side. It's not where I worked and focused in my career on. So now, just since 2015, so we launched in January 2015, I've just been learning and learning and learning.
Yeah, it definitely is a learning process, I'm sure. And stepping out, starting your own business, that's a real challenge, but it's also a step of faith.
Yeah.
And
I ask a lot of questions. I mean, I talk to Jackie, I talk to Pastor Virginia, I talk to you. I mean, it's keep people in your lives that are not going to just tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you the way it is, and those are the people that you want in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, being a business owner, you do have people that contract with you, people that work with you. Not only do you have, the clients that you're serving, but you have staff people that you're working with, particularly in different genres. You have staff at the church, you have a staff that you're working with. And so what is it like being a woman in leadership, leading staff and staff who may have a lot of training, a lot of influence, versus someone who's, they're coming in and they want to learn. And so you have to be able to relate to a lot of different people who have a lot of different, whatever they bring in. So right. When it comes to women in leadership, how do you lead all these different personalities and these different backgrounds and experiences that people bring and kind of get everybody to work and get on the same page? How's that for you?
I meet people where they are. It's really important to me to understand what they're bringing to the table, what they want to learn, what skills they already have. But I meet people where they are and I bring them to where they want to be and give them the tools. I'm very patient. As long as you are trying your best, you will never, ever hear a bad word from me. If you try and take shortcuts, or if you are dishonest about things, then it gets a little sticky. But it's important that I'm a very good listener, and just having that patience to meet people where they are in their skill level. I have people who have tons more experience than I do, different experience, but tons more experience than I do. I have people who are doing this for the very first time. And, even on this trip, so I'm in Detroit, ladies and gentlemen, and working on our film. And we have a young gentleman who is with us for the first time, working as a production assistant, and has never done anything, but it's a learning opportunity. So I really try to allow people the opportunity, because I remember being that person. It was a long time ago, but I remember being that person. I remember people saying, you know what, we're gonna give you a chance to be in the big chair. You're gonna make some mistakes, but we're gonna give you an opportunity. And I just think everybody deserves one. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, then you deserve a chance to be great.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it is a matter of a learning process, how to relate to people, especially when you're the leader, in setting the tone and the culture for your business and the projects, and that's learning. So as you're looking in the chat, and you can see this question, okay, as it relates to comment about women being in front of the camera versus someone being behind the camera. Talk about this in a way that this person can really kind of get something out of this comment here about being in front or behind the camera.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That came from folks watching on YouTube. I think that in my generation, now this is like early 90s through the 2000s, the industry really looked for what we call TV faces that were for TV. And if you didn't have a face for TV, you were immediately kind of shunned into working behind the scenes. I think.
What do you mean? What do you mean by, do you not? Everybody has a face.
Everyone has a face.
But what do you mean by a face for TV versus a face for not TV?
Well, it's a entertainment industry, even though it's news, even though it's sometimes it doesn't seem like entertainment, it's an entertainment business. And people want to look at handsome and pretty faces on television. At least that's what the executives, the people who are up on the sixth floor, that's what they believe. So for a long time, they were pushing young women, particularly, to be in front of the camera. And these were women that had journalism degrees, master's degrees, business degrees, and they were pushing them to be in front of the camera. I don't think that that's the case anymore. I think that if you want to be in front of the camera, the traditional routes don't exist anymore. If anyone watched the Emmys a couple of weeks ago, streaming networks are taking over broadcast television. There's no such thing as kind of like paying your dues and going from market to market. The whole world is a market. You can sit in front of your laptop, make a show, put it out there, people are going to watch. So I think because of that, I think it's important that you understand the technology, that you are responsible with the technology, because once it's out there, ladies and gentlemen, you can't get it back. And we see it burning people left and right all the time. It can be 10 years ago, it can be 15 years ago, they're gonna find it. Case in point, the executive producer who was to take over Jeopardy after Alex Trebek passed away. He was the executive producer for 17 years on that show. They wanted to elevate him, put him into Alex Trebek's position. Boom. They found stuff from not so long ago that he said got on the internet. So, you know, it's a very powerful tool that we have right now, but with great power comes great responsibility. So if it's something that you want to do, if you want to be, we call them content creators, because you don't need a broadcast channel to be a content creator. Just be responsible, because you cannot get it back. You can't.
Yeah, it is so important to make sure that, you know, when you put something out there, it's going to live out there for perhaps an eternity. Just got to be careful what's going on and what your channel is portraying. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. We got about 5 minutes left, but I got to get this question in. Now, being a woman of faith, and being a woman in leadership and giving influence and leading in many different capacities, how does faith actually work as you lead in these different particular circles and working with staff and people and making decisions about your business? How does faith kind of integrate with that?
It gives me patience. I can get kind of very rattled sometimes, and it can be just a workload. It could be a problem I'm trying to troubleshoot. It could be a myriad of things. And my faith gives me patience. What I do is so much fun that, and I tell people that we should be having fun. This is all about having fun. We're not saving lives. We're not on operating tables. Like, it should be fun doing this kind of work. But sometimes things and people can make it not so much fun. So my faith really helps me with patience with myself, because I don't know all the answers. And sometimes that can be very frustrating for me. There are new gadgets and apps and technologies that one of my bosses throws at me all the time, and I have to try and figure it out. But it gives me patience. I thank God every day for the talents that I have, and I ask him that he continue to bless the gifts and give me the aptitude and patience to learn more, and know that I can be okay with what I don't understand. So that's really how my faith works in my work, because it is so much. I have such a great satisfaction when I get something, when I can pass something on to someone else and they get it. The media team at ALC is really just growing and thriving so well. And it's an incredible feeling. I get to actually sit and listen to the word, and I'm not back in the booth anymore. And that's just having patience, because it didn't happen overnight, but getting there. And that's really kind of what I pray for with my work, is just that God just continues to put me where I need to be and know what I need to know, and what I don't.
Well, that's great. I also think that this is also a calling. It is saving lives. You know, you're not on the operating table as a doctor who's doing a very important surgery and helping someone to feel better, but you're also helping people to feel better in a number of ways by giving out opportunities for them to tell their story and learning and helping people to understand and grow by causing films and video. We're in a video age where people are watching and learning through videos. So you're doing a very important work, and it is saving lives. I just want to let you know it is saving lives.
Thank you.
Just in a final question, what might you be looking forward when it comes to looking forward as a leader? Leaders are visionaries. What's your vision? Give me just a short snippet. What's your vision for the future?
I gave myself a goal by 55 that I wouldn't have to actually push all the buttons anymore. I can actually be in a position where other people are pushing the buttons, doing the editing, doing the directing, doing the producing, and I'm overseeing it. And I'm kind of just sitting back and allowing other people to step into that role. So that's my vision. I want to pass this on and just be able to sit back and enjoy other people's successes and, get paid, but not have to push all the buttons. That's what I'm looking forward to. And God's going to make that happen for me.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So just quickly tell people how to get in contact with you, Hull Bay Productions, or
Yes.
Power Play Show.
Yeah, so the Power Play Show, we air every Thursday. We're on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music now just picked us up. So very excited about that. Every Thursday, there's a new episode. This week, I'm talking to O'Neill Anderson, who is a nutrition and health expert. He's going to really kind of knock down some myths about nutrition and what that means. Last week, I interviewed my husband, Greg, and attorney Joseph Feaster talking about suicide. It's Suicide Prevention Month, September. So that was just a really powerful conversation. So we have some really great shows coming up. You can go to thepowerplayshow.com. And More Than Our Skin is the second film that Hull Bay Productions is producing. We're actually in Detroit to do an interview for this film. So you can go to morethanourskin.org. You can learn about the 5 women who are sharing their incredible stories, their journeys of living with vitiligo. We're talking to medical doctors. We're talking to politicians. We're hoping that we're going to really make some change with this movie. So morethanourskin.org. And of course, you can always visit hullbayproductions.com and learn about all of these wonderful things. But thank you so much, Bishop, for this opportunity. I always love talking about my work.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on and just sharing about your leadership and all the wonderful projects that you're doing. So you're doing a great job for us at Abundant Life. So we appreciate that. And then we just wanted you to know, for those of you watching, we appreciate you for coming on each Tuesday evening as we're talking about this series and women leadership. And this, I just want to encourage you to get everybody in tune to what some of the talks that we're going to be sharing on as women share their stories as leaders. And so God bless you and make your blessing. Look forward to seeing you on next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious unto you and give you his peace, his shalom, nothing missing, nothing broken. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Tonya. Have a good night.
Night. Bye-bye.